Humans are interesting little creatures with their culture, customs, and contraptions. In fact, if you weren't a human, say you were a monster, you'd probably find it all very puzzling. You'd need a museum, a whole network of museums to explain it to you. And luckily, that's exactly what you get in a monsters expedition through puzzling exhibitions. You play as a cute little monster making its way between tiny islands. Peppered around these islands are various items from human life and a humorous, often incorrect description of it. The only thing more puzzling than these explanations of everyday items are the puzzles. You'll need to figure out how to get yourself to the next island by moving logs. These can be rolled, flipped, and turned into bridges. Most puzzles are confined to one small island, which I really liked. I'm a huge fan on honing in on a single problem and giving it a good hard think to try and figure it out. You'll also move between islands using rafts, which is delightfully exciting at first. There's a nice sense of discovery as you learn how things can be moved, because not very much is explained. This is both fun and irritating. It's hard to solve a puzzle if you need to use tools that you didn't know existed. I found myself spending a good long time moving logs about aimlessly until I stumbled across an unexpected way that things work. This see what works vibe can feel playful and welcoming, but I wish the game was more intentional in teaching you things, because it can get unnecessarily confusing. I want to spend my time solving puzzles, not figuring out mechanics through trial and error. Luckily, you can reset an island with the press of a button if you do get stuck, and there's a handy dandy undo button. However, this is where the game starts to get wobbly for me. As you're moving between islands and sometimes resetting an island to go in another direction, you're not always moving forward in a linear manner. It's an open world, which means that it's branching and you can kind of choose your own path. But that gets messy because sometimes you don't know if you needed something from another island to solve the puzzle that's in front of you now. So you can spend ages trying to go one way when really you just need to move on in a completely different part of the map. This is really at odds with my personality because I want to stick at something and stay with it until I figure it out. But the game wants you to give up, move on, and come back later, which would be really good for some people. The only real indicator of where to go next is a lovely cloud cover that disappears as you move through it. So you basically try to get to the nearest cloud-covered island. But because you move back and forth across the map, it's not a surefire way of knowing where to go next. You also don't know if you've locked yourself out of a solution by doing something a few islands back, and it's easy to leave a mess and have to resolve an island over and over. You also don't always know if it's even possible to get where you're trying to get from where you're trying to get there from. This really bugged me, and sometimes I found myself undoing a whole string of actions. But at least the undo has cool jazzy drum sounds. I really liked these. They felt so much fun. It's a charming warmth that's woven through the game, little details that make the world feel friendly. From the monster's little backpack to the way you can just sit on the water's shore and watch the world go by for a little bit. It's a game that's lovingly crafted. You can also jump into mailboxes and post yourself about the map as a way of fast traveling. It's very cute, but don't let the cute look fool you. These puzzles are head scratchers. The clear direction of the early puzzles was super enjoyable. I could knuckle down and put my mind to figuring out these tight and challenging islands. But as the game went on, things got super messy and, for me, unsatisfying, because I was just pushing logs around and hoping I'd find another way to go. If you're keen for a meandering puzzle experience, then this is super charming, with some very challenging puzzles. But the fact that it lacked clear direction was a bit too frustrating for me. I just felt stuck. I'm giving A Monster's Expedition 3 out of 5 rubber chickens.